Is it working? Can you hear me? How's it going, everyone? Let's see what's going on here. Just bear with me a second. No, I did not want to do that. There we go. Good. Good and good. Right. What's going on? Who have we got here? How's it going? Hello. Good stuff. Right. Happy days. Oh, you have to tell me how the audio is, actually. Let's have a quick look. Oh, the lag. The lag is real. The lag is real. Do you actually need... Let's just see. Let's see how that goes. Audio, let's crank that down. How's that? Is that quiet, loud enough, good enough? Yes, good. Hello. Right, welcome back to, well, I'm pleased to say we've now got a name for this weird sort of hybrid place. It's a little bit different to what you saw in the video. Where are we at in the video? Let's have a quick look. Get my let's see. Right. Okay. You've just seen me scrolling like a lunatic because there's about 30 seconds delay. Look, railway's still. Oh gosh, the lag is real. The lag is real. Oh golly. My computer's not really built for this streaming plus playing malarkey. Look, there's the railway. Oh, just look at that frame rate. Isn't it wonderful? Oh, crikey. My sincere apologies. Anyway, there's a functioning railway. Remember we built this a few episodes ago? No, how many episodes ago? Oh, a couple of episodes ago. Our little town. The town... So this town, town number 1... Oh, crikey, this lag is pretty bad. I'm sorry, everyone. It wasn't this bad last time. I think it's all got a bit bigger and busier. I can just hear, you can probably hear it as well, my PC is just like, God, screaming. Yes, pro streamers, just, they do it better. I'm not a pro streamer, am I? I don't do much of this streaming thing. It kind of barely works. Just shout, if it's really bad, let me know and we'll do something else. But in any case, what was I saying? This town is now called, it's called Inverpython. Which is sort of it takes inspiration from a name by Julie Fisher, who's, thanks Julie, there you are, you've got a square named after you, Julie Fisher Square, who came up with who came up with the name in the comments of the video where I said please name these. So she suggested Monty Python. What I thought was funnier is to call this Inverpython, for this to be the River Python, and for this mountain up here to be called Mont Python. Yeah. Or maybe even, should we call it? Oh, crikey. Let's call it Ben. Let's call it Mount Python for now. In any case, also David Shepherd, if you do eventually watch this, or if you're on there now, you've got a little park named after you as well. A little walk there, just nice little linear park next to the water. Again, we're calling this place, that's right, Pilning. Ho 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 ho. As you see, it has 2 platforms, unlike the real Pilning station. In any case, what the hell is going on in this place? Landfills are full. There's only one railway line. Traffic is a mixture. You can see I generally try and surround towns in agriculture because it's kind of realistic, and it also gives you a massive obstacle whenever you do expansion. So you can delete a field and you can delete a field and then have a little housing estate in there. It's kind of nice. Gives you a nice little bit of organic town growth. But what else have we got? So we've got our beach that we made last time. I think we made this on the stream last time, didn't we? Oh, crikey. YouTube just sent me a really big yellow banner saying YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Just check OBS. It seems to be working fine-ish. What's the stream like? Anyone else? Oh yeah, that is pretty broken. It's saying open widget. What is this widget? Stream health. Stream is healthy again. Well, let's see. Anyway, right, enough of that. This is tedious. There's a little balloon from Berkeley's Balloons there. Yeah, Berkeley's Balloons. Nice. Thanks, Lord T. No apologies at all for the late arrival. This is just a casual stream. I'm just sort of showing people what's been going on, and then we're going to whiz off and start doing some stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so we have the confluence of the two rivers here, which is nice. There we are. Eventually, this is probably all going to get swamped in urban sprawl, because that's basically the direction we're going. My plan is that this will starting out as fairly rural. Eventually, it'll get really big and busy and urban, because ultimately public transport looks and works best in big built-up areas. So. But before that happens, I want this place to be utterly crisscrossed in railways, some of which will be so pointless we're going to dig them up again and then replace them with cycle lanes and that sort of thing, and maybe the odd bypass here and there. We'll see. That's the plan. So if you subscribe to if you're one of my Patreon supporters, you will know all this anyway, because you've got access to my planner. Essentially, what the plan is, I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want to spoil it for the Patreon people who get first dibs on it. But essentially, we're going to go through bridges and tunnels next episode, and then we're going to have a look at some S&C, some basic junctions the episode after that, and then we're going to build a new freight line, and the new freight line is going to go from this. We've got a steel. Oh crikey! We've got a steelworks down here. Yeah, you can see the traffic is just causing me some super lag, the big lags. Some nice, yeah. So there are. So this is good grief. This is that all? It seems to be moving. There's a nice little steelworks, and we're going to connect this steelworks up with. We're going to kind of go possibly over here, maybe kind of through here. In fact, the way we'll know where we're going is because we'll follow the contours. So we'll come up, follow this thick kind of contour, work our way across here, maybe, and then go across, and we're going to build a bridge over the river here. Go up behind Inverpython and have a bit of a cutting through, and then whiz round, and then we're going to end up going up this valley here towards lovely, pretty Kenilworth. You see, beautiful, the rural idyll of Kenilworth here, which is actually a big mining town in our parallel universe. Yes, so we're going to build so essentially it's going to be we're building a railway for ores. Lots of people are moaning about the lag, but it's not too horrendous. Yeah, apologies. So anyway, say hello and naming things. So if you spot anything that's got a gap, then let's do some naming. Oliver, you know what? Oliver, welcome to the stream. Let's give you this farm here. Oliver Lanning's farm. If you want a better name for your farm, let me know. God, the YouTube is really not happy about this quality of this stream. It just keeps throwing big yellow banners at me for yeah. My computer was in better health earlier. It's pretty warm at the moment. Yeah, it's pretty overheated. Pont a Python. Yukanuba 0157 recommends that. Oh, what have we got? So, Al. Yeah. So, spot stuff that hasn't been named. The main thing that we haven't named is down here, which is this new town over here. So it's kind of a pretty standard. There you are. The road arrives. Yeah, there's a fields either side. The road comes in. A bit of a church. It's not very exciting, but there's a nice coastal it's a nice coastal town here, or rather, it's next to the river. So make your suggestions of your names. I will come back to this one and name it later, but it's quite a pleasant little river town. In some capacity, a railway is going to have to carve its way in here, or perhaps one or two railways. As I said, the plan is that railways are just going to carve up the whole place. They're going to be railways. It's going to be almost. It's going to look more like a model railway than a real landscape. But oh yeah, the other thing which I created is this little based on Chatham House actually. This little. Oh, you like this? So let's switch on. Yeah, there's a little water feature that admittedly isn't the best because it dries out pretty regularly. We'll get there. So yeah, so there's this big old posh house thing, which has a nice view across this lake, and some suggestions of Dennisville, Sunnyside. Keep your suggestions coming in. I'll trace back through and pick one at the end of the stream. Here we go. This is a nice, basically a nice little estate, country estate. Yeah, Tories live here. And there's a castle at the top of the hill. The castle's quite nice. The castle might end up getting named something similar to because the castle overlooks this sort of river town, so the two might be related. Have a little think about that while you're deciding to name things. Oh, this bit's nice. You can see here, this I've kind of finished this valley, and then it's kind of got this rural Abbey. Oh, I've just realised who that. Yes, hello Abby. I just realised who that YouTube handle is. Yeah, Abby. Yeah, that's potentially. Yeah, Abby. Yeah, that's interesting. I think there is gonna. Yeah, you're right. Abby is gonna happen. I think it's too easy. While we're at it, this river needs naming as well. So this little river here disappears off in that direction, disappears off in that direction. We need a name for this river too, and the river is probably going to be named the same thing as the town, or the town's probably going to be something on the name of the river. So, Axley Fitzwarren. That's Tommy Lucas. Tommy, hi, good to see you. Let's name this after you. All right, you got a farm, nice. Let's have a look. What was I saying? Yeah, you can see that I've grown some of the sort of agricultural areas around the towns. So there are some gaps that needs filling. Thanks, Amadeus Phoenix. Very kind. Yeah, this is a bit of an informal thing. Like, this isn't part of the main series, really. It's just. Oh, speaking of which, is it? Can I cancel that? Is it possible for me to? No, I'll add it to the stream health. It's not happy. It's healthy-ish. Yeah, good. Sorry, what was I saying? As you all know, I have a habit of just like my brain diving around all over the place. So we're going to have. This isn't really the main series. This is just me kind of doing some updated stuff. People are asking if anything's named after Dina. No, yes, actually. I was going to say no and kind of keep it from you because I was going to kind of casually show it in the thing. Yeah, Castle Yankovic. Dina chose it herself. Hello, Toby. Yeah. Oh, Toby, do you want to? Have we named your farm already? I don't think we have we? Let's give you this. Farman. Let's see. Farman Liz. There you are. There's your farm. Lovely. Who else is on here? yeah. Well, that's fair enough. So we've got the Irk. Oh wait a minute. Someone was saying the River Irk. Quite like that actually. So this is going to be name on Irk, and we're going to call this river is going to be the River Irk. It's happened. That was a good shout. Oh, the lag is real. The lag is real. Let's do this. There we are. So we need something. Shot what on? There we go. Da, 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 da. Oh, very kind, Amadeus. It's very kind of you to say that. Hopefully it's an interesting, different perspective. I realise that I could make railways look a lot more accurate if I had loads of mods involved. I will let you into a little secret, is that I have installed a couple of slight sort of housekeeping mods to make my life a bit easier, to create stuff a bit quicker. But nothing that will stop you guys using this save game if ever you wanted to, if I, put it on the Patreon or whatever. So we're looking at, oh yeah, that's right, that happens. Don't laugh. Every now and then I need to remember to do this. We've flooded out Castle Tory. So we need to know what this is being, what we're calling this place. Erkford. Oh, I like Erkford. Erkford is going to be Erkford. There's going to be a town down here, and it's going to be called Erkford. And just to remind myself, I'm going to stick it down here and call it. That is capital R. That's happening. But this big place needs a different name. Lower Erk. Okay, interesting suggestions. Yeah. So the reason I do all this agriculture is, as I say, it makes hammering through with new railway lines and roads that bit more tricky and therefore realistic. There is a railway empire game. There is a game called Railway Empire. There are loads and loads of railway games. The trouble I find with them is that they, in their efforts to make the railway bit more realistic, they end up being less realistic because they've gone to great detail in a way that actually isn't that realistic because it's a game. Whereas something that's kind of macro like this, they haven't bothered modelling railways in great detail, which means that you kind of get to use your imagination a bit, and actually this ends up being more realistic. A lot of people have said, oh, you should play Transport Fever. The trouble with Transport Fever is that I don't find it that realistic. Sorry, I've just hit the mic. I don't find it that realistic. Like the alignments, you've got, yes, you can place crossovers and all sorts of stuff like that, but you've basically got a map that's the size of a kind of a Hornby baseboard, and as a result of that, it just loses some of the realism for me. So I quite like these big terraformy city builder games. For example, at some point fairly soon, this place is going to get kiboshed with a load of either one new station or a big terminal station arriving. How we decide on where that goes, who knows? But chances are there'll be maybe one big terminal station here and then another one here, and then that gives us a chance to connect them up with, trams, build trams. Who's here? Who have we got? It's not a rejection of wanting to play other railway games, and maybe that's what, maybe future live streams I'll do that, but also I have a limited budget in that I can't buy all these games. This is the game I have, and it cost me an arm and a leg, so I'm going to play the hell out of it, well onto 850 hours now, I think. The video game remix is recent subscriber, just discovered your videos, Gareth, some very interesting stuff about the railway network, keep up the good work, you're very welcome. Feel free to request, if there's something you're interested to find out more about, pop a comment under one of the videos and I'll aim to do a video of that in that kind of direction. I've got plans to do some live streamed Gadget bahn videos where I poke, because what I can do is have the video within PowerPoint, you do a presentation, pause it, and then draw stuff, and like we can just watch it over and over again. And as I watch a thing, I can draw stuff around it and complain about mental things. Like, for example, that ridiculous bus on stilts that went viral about, what was it? It was like a couple of years ago, wasn't it? A few years ago, and everyone was sharing this amazing idea of like a bus on stilts. And they trialled it in China for a bit, and it was as awful as you'd expect it to be, just completely rubbish. It misses the point, which is the best way to make transport work better is, particularly where you're mixing it with roads, is to just get rid of the cars, just get rid of them. But there are lots of other technical reasons, so it'd be quite interesting to go into that and look at things that are just a problem, like some of the actual detail engineering, so not just some of the wider macro things, because I prefer not to focus on the detail when it comes to these gadget bahns, because the reality is that often it's not the fiddly engineering detail. For example, Hyperloop, the vacuum is not the problem. That's not a big deal. It's like, it's a vacuum. You could, with enough money, you can make that work, whatever. The issue is it's the economics of it. It's the fact that it relies on a pod, and pods are rubbish because you have lots and lots of pods, which means hugely complex system, hugely maintenance intensive, hugely lots and lots of points of failure, lots of points of safety degradation. Whereas with a train, you fit a lot more people into it, therefore you don't need as many of them, therefore you reduce all your points of failure. Yeah, that bus on stilts, crikey. So there are loads of other things. Like there are other ones. So the bus on stilts was so ridiculous that no one, like, it died a death, thankfully. But there are lots of other things that get a lot more traction. For example, in Cambridge, Mayor Thingy Palmer is trying to push through a Gadget ban, which is basically a bad expansion of, like, they've taken the guided busway and they've gone, okay, what were the worst things about this? Right, okay, let's build a system based on the worst elements of the Cambridgeshire guided busway. So that's precisely what they're doing. So, yeah, there are lots of examples. And the trouble, of course, and that's the perfect example, is that is getting in the way of a longer-term, better solution, which is to just build a tram. And if you are going to bury something underground, if you're going to spend all that money in burying something underground through Cambridge, I don't agree that it's necessary. Lots of people in Cambridge have said, no, you do need to do that. I'm still sceptical, I think. If you exclude more road traffic, including potentially buses, from the centre, you can get trams to work. There are smaller, narrower streets in Europe that have made it work. In any case, even if you do build tunnels, stick trams in them. Don't put a glorified bus in tunnels. It's just a recipe for disaster. And batteries, come on, batteries should not be the default. You should start off with wires, because the whole point is that you're taking all that battery weight out of your vehicle. The more stuff, the more things you take out of your vehicle, the lighter it is. So no batteries, no hydrogen, just running with wires above. This is why trolley buses are very good. The simpler, cheaper, lighter it is, quicker to accelerate, all these good things. It's like a virtuous circle. You make the vehicle lighter, the better. And to be honest, so Toby, to answer your question, that goes for battery trains. They're useful as filler at the fringes, as maybe a stopgap in a few locations, but broadly the reality is that battery trains should be like a last option, not a first option. The first thing you should look at is putting wires up. Yes, the guided busway should have been a railway, absolutely. Right, I haven't really done anything in here, have I? I've just been sort of waving my hands around aimlessly. What are we going to call this farm down here? Who have we got on the stream? Oh, Matt. What do you, Matt? What do you want your? Oh, look. Oh, wait a minute. This is where I need just go in here and just. Where is he? Let's just. Get rid of him. Cheerio. And. Perfect. Just getting rid of that nasty piece of work. That's possibly Will James Bradbury's alt account, who's a nasty piece of work and says pretty nasty things. So just going to get rid of that person there. Particularly as they're using my face, which is like already a crime against humanity. We don't need more than one of those around. Electrify all the things, exactly. So, actually, you know what? Let's see. I need to get used to adding people as moderators on this, don't I? Anyway, I'll work out who can. We'll work that out in the Patreon later. Which lines do you think major difference, if not close? Yeah, the video game remixes. So we're definitely going to do a beaching chat for Rail Natter at some point, because it's an easy topic, frankly. You know, we just need to stick a map of Britain up, and we can all just kind of draw things on it as to where we think lines need to be reopened, or would have benefited from remaining open. But actually, it's a bit of a rose-tinted spectacles thing, isn't it? Because the reality is that let's just save this while I'm here. Oh golly. The reality is that railways that were once closed, it was a bad idea to close them. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea to reopen them. But there are a few that definitely ought to be reopened. Name each district over least used station. That's Michael Dono. What do you mean, Michael? Go on, say that in another way, because I don't quite follow what you mean. I'm confused. Yes, it should be good. The video game remixes, it should be good. We might well have Dr. David Turner to join us to talk about beaching as well, actually, because he's got quite a few interesting things to add. I haven't built anything, have I? I'm just scrolling around. What are we going to do? Let's build a town. Oh, what's going on here? Oh. I forgot this. That's standard, isn't it? Oh. Part of the reason my computer's probably failing is that it's absolutely roasting in here. It's turned out to be a lot warmer than I expected. Let's see. So we've got a railway that's just going to come in there, which is kind of annoying. So this, I always like to see the old road and the new road. I've always liked to kind of give a bit of history to these things. Let's do some of this, shall we? Firstly, let's just get rid of that. So I'm just going to build a bit of a town actually now. Let's just get some town action on the go. Lovely. And this, yeah, lovely. I'm much less fussy about my roads than I am about my railways. I must point that out, because roads, you know, fine. Happy days. Right, let's just shove a little. Let's go a little. I always like to start. Oh, well, often like to start my towns with a little park. And in this case, we're just going to start a very little. Oh, actually, for the older towns, actually, I start with a church, because basically all towns start with a church. You know, it's pretty much a thing, isn't it? Let's shove it. Let's shove it there, and then let's. When I'm building an early town, I also always like to put my 2-lane gravel roads in, rather than tarmac. God, that's slow. How much can you... Is the sound too loud, by the way? Let me know what the sound balance is like. Is it alright? Yeah. Lovely. And cool. Let's have a look. Yeah. What sort of thing? So often you'll get... that, and let's pretend it's sort of got a bit kiboshed right there. There we go. This is going to be a really small town. Like, I don't want this to be a big thing. It's just going to be a little poxy thing with a couple of streets and there and. Lovely. We're going to get the water in here. And what are we going to call this little village then? What have we got? Sound balance is good. Good. Happy days. Oh, let's just do another. Let's do one more. Or thinking, name-wise, what are your thoughts? I'm just going to do this for now, just so I can get a bit of a guide to. Go. Yes, that's what I wanted. Oh, there we go. Just check that that's all tickety-boo. Let's just do this. That's fine. Ah, yes, so what things do we have? First things first, let's get the post office in. Nice little post office. Let's have that. Let's have that. Here, post office here. Nice. School. We always have the little school next to the hospital is quite common. Next to the church, rather. What should we do? Should we have it? Yeah, that'll do it nicely. Medical centre. Police. Sorry, fire. Let's get that over here. And police station. Lovely. Mixed use is realistic in these sorts of situations. Let's pause this for a second. And a lot of people saying, yeah, the village shop. Monorails are gadget ban. Are monorails a gadget ban? Yes, they definitely are, because basically they're. Why not just use a normal railway? If you're building a monorail, you could probably build a light rapid transit system. And are gadget bans allowed in Python Valley? There's going to be a gadget ban episode. We're going to look at building a monorail and a high-speed monorail a la type hyperloopy thing to show what it looks like if you build it to have the same capacity as a high-speed line. That should be quite fun, because essentially you have to bulldoze everything. Right, the village shop, absolutely, definitely. Let's get the village shop in. Yeah, lovely. Generally have commercial stuff on the main street. We are. But it's only little, so not much commercial here. Maybe a little bit there, and also maybe a little bit there. But everything else is going to be residential. What we're missing? Well, firstly, we're missing a water connection. So let's get that, and we'll go plumb it in. Generally try and... You can tell that I'm like an obsessive sort of civil engineer type, because I like to follow my main roads with water, so that's fine. Lovely. Nice. And that's that. It's missing one vital ingredient, which is... Which direction are we going to go with that? I think let's actually do... Go. Which I think means that we are cooking on gas. What are we calling this place, folks? Everyone can sing monorail. It is mandatory, yeah. Up a bit here. Do that, and a bit of that, and then tidy that up. What are we calling this town then? Who's on the line? What happened to Hill? EK157. You're coming up with all the. Let's do that. Happened to Hill. It's quite an elaborate... There's a lot of consonants in there. But it's happening. Short of anyone else's suggestions, I think it's nice. There we are, nice little town. And it kind of looks a bit like it's been scissored off by the highway coming through, which is nice as well. Lovely. You can see... Okay, the one thing that I also have is quite a lot of... quite a lot of nice British assets that just keep randomly popping up, which is quite nice. It does give a slightly different flavour to my city compared to lots of these nice sort of corner places. Good. Just get cool. And I like Hoping too, that's nice. What's the issue here? Oh, they're moaning that they haven't got enough workers. Oh no, not enough places to work. Oh no, they're not enough educated workers. They can get over that. Yeah, you're right, Amadeus Phoenix. Hypertron is some kind of mad science device. It's the thing that you attach to the valve that allows your Hyperloop pod to get into the vacuum tube. That's Hypertron. Or maybe it's a Y-patron. Hill, 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 hill. Oh yeah, that's... Well, Penter actually is village. Relates to village in Welsh. So, yeah. Anyway, I digress. I'm rubbish at this sort of like video game streaming thing. Can you tell? Let's see. Have we got any more? Have we got any suggestions as to this? I'm going to go through the chat and see who's on here. Let's have a look. Michael, Matt. See if I can word some names up into a new thing. So we got Michael. We've got. I'm just writing on my book. See, look. Abby, and we've got Matt, and we've got Amadeus. How can I word those into one name? Nabbit. I think we might be able to, you know. I think we're I mean, that's such a random name. It doesn't sound. I mean, what I generally do is find niche place names on the old NLS Explorer. I happen to be somewhere. Well, let's not think too much about where I was there. That's a work-related thing. I've got the 3 screens up again. Let's zoom in here and see what we've got. So I'm zooming on the outskirts of Walsall, and we have. What have we got? I mean, we've got all sorts. Oh, there we go. You see. Boom. Atherton on Eric. It's happened. Yeah, everyone's. Yeah, that's it. I always have a book. You've got to have a book. You've got to have a book for scribbles, particularly on these sorts of things. You never know. You never know when a computer's going to disintegrate underneath you. Which reminds me, we need to go down and name our railway, don't we? Which we haven't done yet. Yep. Let's go with this. So, this is the Inverpython and Pilning Railway. Except I've spelled Pilning wrong. Yeah, it says it. Inverpython Pilning Railway. Isn't that nice? No, that should. I'll just check. It should go all the way to the end. Let's just double check. Yeah, it does. Very nice indeed. That's cracking, that is. Happy with that. Also, have you noticed how well used this thing is? It's the most random connected rail. It's connecting one town to this bit. Okay, so now there is a... Oh, that's a good point. While I'm here. Huh. This is the Mount Python cable car. So these guys go up here. This is a weird... Oh, look, that's nice, isn't it? It's got Mount Python cable car. And weirdly, it kind of looks like... Oh yeah, the text is on the ground. Very nice. Gesticulation station. Yeah, quite. Could you put great in there? Let's have a look. I think we've got enough words in there. Matherton on Eric. We could put... we could... yes, that's very true. You can. You definitely can. I didn't do it. I don't even know why I didn't do it, but we're going to do it now. There we go. Let's give it a colour as well, shall we? Let's give it a nice reddy grey. You might think, what the hell is he doing to put it in that colour, but looking at this, it doesn't make much difference. It gives it a little red stripe on the top. It's not that colourful, is it? Anyway. Dangleway. No, not the Dangleway. Oh, the grate. Oh, I see. No, because Matt Reed, we're going to put grate on some of the other. There are so many lines at the moment. We're not going to call anything great. We're going to give them some nice old-fashioned brand new railway type names, because all railways are named things like this, because they're all like individual little companies funded by local bonds. So they're ridiculous names, and we're just going to have loads of them everywhere, and they're just going to all be a kind of a sprawling mess. And then we're going to cancel some of them out and flatten some of them, and turn some of them into cycleways and all sorts of fun stuff. Yeah. Who else have we got on the thick call? Have we got any time for another name? Right, what else have we got? So we've got... where else can we put a town? Any other town things? Oh, we haven't named this place yet as well. Good point. Lovely. Do not want it to be called that. We're going to call this place... what are we going to call it? Who's here? There we are. Great Essington. You know who you are. Right. What do you want me to do next? The fantastic long names, yeah. They did have huge long names, those railways. What do you want me to go and do next? The down to the next village and back in an efficient way railway. Yeah, I mean, if you go back through some of the original railway names, they are like the Farley and Great Essingbridge Junction Railway and Goods Siding. Yeah. We're going to hopefully replicate some of that energy in some of these. There and back to see how far it is. Oh, yeah, that's a good point actually. That is a thing. It's a bustling little neighbourhood, isn't it? All people waiting for their... oh, the lag! Oh, the bus. It's a busy old little bus stop. See, there is a demand for railways. Let's see who gets into this bus. That's coming. Oh, there we go. Oh, see, public transport. It's happening. That's probably fine. It's loud, isn't it? Another bus. Ah, wait for the railway train. Come on. Ah, here we go. Good. Let's ignore the lag. We're going to follow this train when it pulls in. Pause. It's quite short. It's a short station, isn't it? Given the length of the metro trains. Yeah. That and that. There you go. You're on a nice little railway. Oh, they're in the game, although they might be real. I don't know. The bird noise is quite loud on here. That would be correct, Toby. Yes, terminal stations on a double track railway do only need one platform, but this is City Skylines, and they don't do that. Yeah. These look a bit more like flirts than anything else, don't they? Although they're metro car vehicles, they're sort of metro trains. So yeah. But their weird third rail thing, I don't know, like they've got this, I don't know if they've actually modelled the third rail shoe on this, but anyway, theoretically they're third rail vehicles, because they've got a little sort of DLR underhook thing. It's like the German third rail S-Bahn type situation. Here we are, just pulling in, nice, isn't it? Let's go along this way, all the way back. Lovely. Yeah, it doesn't really have a very metro style. It's not a very metro style vehicle, is it? I might replace it with a 345 or something in the future. Actually, I was trying to find an old EMU looking thing to replace it with, but of course that only works for heavy rail, and this is a metro. For whatever reason, I decided to lay the first line as a metro. I think it was because of the novelty factor that I hadn't actually done it yet. Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? Nice little view. Oh, really? There aren't any other train. Ah, maybe. No, there aren't any other trains going around on here. No, there's just a metro line because I demolished all the other railway lines. Yeah, there we are, pulling into a little Inverpython. That's nice, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. That's nice, isn't it? Oh, that's the lag you needed. That is the lag you needed. Yeah. It's farms. Yeah, this is the YouTube content that you. It's not the YouTube content you deserve, but it's the YouTube content you need. Yeah. Anyway, what do you want me to go and do next? Are we going to go and build another town? Where is there space for another town? This definitely is. Let's see what else. Yeah. Let's build the road. Here. You notice I don't give a stuff about detail. Oh, no, didn't want to do that. It's not so important when I'm building the roads. I do it for highways, but for these little roads, I don't really care about making it all earthworksy because, frankly, roads aren't like that. They don't require the level of accuracy. Certainly, smaller roads like this don't require the level of accuracy that railways do. Where are we going to go in? What are we going to connect with? Yeah, sorry mate, you're getting kiboshed. And let's just shove convex drivers here. In fact, let's do that, and that, and that, and that, and that. And that. There we go. Lovely. Marvellous. You've got a connection over. That's nice, isn't it? Little let's actually join up. That's nice. I like that. I foresee expansion and streets upon these. In fact, yeah, you could definitely get some nice streets down here, couldn't you? Oh, I quite like that. Let's do another one. Oh. Well, what are your thoughts, everyone? It's gone eerily silent on the chat. Now, is that because everyone's alt-tabs and is watching the news? Or is it because this stream is as exciting as I foresee it being? Oh, the air temperature in here is high. Warm. Let's just get those on the go there. That's nice, isn't it? Let's just saturate that in yeah, boom. I'm also going to just change these into you want me to? The thing is, the trouble I've got challenge mode is that I need to not build a railway because that's the bit that goes in the series. However, I might save it and do a bit of route playing. So what you won't see what it actually ends up in the series, but you might see what the route will be that I'll take when I do some planning. So you can be involved. Everyone on the stream, you can be involved in the optioneering process for the next railway. How does that sound? Let's just make sure I've got some commercial in here because that's how this stuff works. Yep, bit of commercial, a bit of commercial, bit of commercial, commercial, commercial. That's going to be commercial. That's probably done commercial as well. And that one. That's quite nice. I like that. Quite pleased with that. Nice, lovely. It would, wouldn't it? Now, challenge mode is getting a railway through this somehow. Ho, 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 ho. If it's possible at all. Anyway. Right. What are we calling this fancy house over here? Oh yeah, good point. Right, firstly, what's this house getting called? There, Donaham House. Nice one, Michael Dono. You've got that house named after you. Which means this is the Donaham House estate. But this castle up here. No. Donaham Castle. I think it's just going to be Donaham Castle, isn't it? Yeah. Do do do. Do 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 do. Oh, there's rubbish. Let's do that. Concentrating face. I mean, I'm conscious that you're all looking at my concentrating face, which is probably one of the worst things ever. Trustee's nice. Yeah, nice try, but no, it's gonna be Donaham. There we are. I quite like that. It's a thing. We've created it. Yeah, Network Rail York. I spend a lot of time in George Stevenson's house there, yeah. There'll be another big fancy house, don't worry, which we can name George Stevenson House. Vicky View. Right, Hertford. Lovely. What's going to be... Oh, you know what we can do? We can call these. Let's do that. Let's call these the Stevenson Steel. Oh, God. Keep mashing because my fingers are sweaty because it's so warm in here. Stevenson Steel Works, that's what this is going to be. There we are. Nice. As you can see, this at the moment is sealed off entirely. This is where this new railway is going to start. So let's do some route planning. Lesson 4, that's good to save that. Actually, I need to just... because it isn't lesson 4, is it? It's lesson 7. So I need to save this, save it as lesson 7. 6, because in advance of 7. Lovely. So the route, I'm thinking, right, let's get the old... let's get the old dirt road out. So, when I'm designing a new railway, yeah, thanks for everyone stealing, yeah, lovely. Everyone's laughing at me. Well, good. I wouldn't have it any other way. My typing skills, no bands. So what my plan will be is essentially that we will whiz across here, we'll divert this road to go over. So this will go like this. There we are. Road guides, yeah. So we'll divert this road. So this road will kind of it'll climb up and go over the top as a bridge and then come back down, just like often happened on railway stuff. At which point this will then, so the point I'll make when I'm doing the series, when I'm doing the proper episode, is that because this is a freight railway, it doesn't need to be straight at all. So it's going to basically follow the contours pretty relentlessly, which means straight followed by curve, you know, this sort of thing, followed by, and part of what I'll talk about is also include a discussion about earth and the fact that you don't have using cut and fill techniques is actually a thing within City Skylines, because there isn't an indefinite amount of earth storage or earth delivery, which is quite cool. I quite like that. Actually, let's just... So this is what I think the route will take. So I'll be following this sort of contour here. This contour here between the green and the... I'll do quite a nice tight curve, because... Why not? Actually, we can this. Just a little though. Yeah. I could put oily on it. Actually, the game automatically puts oily over the top, so electrify all the things happens immediately in City Skylines, which I'm all for. That's an energy I can get behind. There we go. So this is the rail I'm looking at, and so that was a bit squiffy. Let's get back to the contours again. So essentially what I'll do is this will get flattened out to match this contour line here. Let's see. And this is where it gets tricky, because what I want to do is get over the river. And the river is up. Let's not worry about that. Let's work. Up here. I think the place I want to cross the river is... Pretty much I want to cross it kind of here. That's sort of, I think, what I'm thinking for the bridge location. Any other thoughts, advances, thoughts? The trouble is I kind of don't want to demolish this lot because it's quite nice. So I will have a bit of playing as to where the angle of that bridge is, so that I don't demolish these quite interesting little tidbits. So for example, I might it's going to be tricky, isn't it? It's going to be tricky to get past these without causing problems, so I might have to do it. Might have to do it here and then have the embankment curve over. What are your thoughts, people? Do you think what are your as my consulting engineers? What do you reckon? Maybe there. It could be better. Challenge of that, of course, is then you're getting. Oh yeah. What you mean? The sound of my computer fan boosting up? That noise? No, we're not tunneling under the river, Matt. Don't be ridiculous. Come on now. We're going to have a standard truss bridge over the top. We're trying to make this vaguely realistic. And in this instance, you wouldn't have a tunnel under the river. So the trouble with that, by the time you're up here, the constraints you've got are coming, like getting over, like in all realisticness, just coming over that is just not happening. That's just not the sort of thing you're going to do. It's going to be far more likely that for starters, you've got to cross the river at a 90-degree angle, essentially, or as close to it as possible. So that's a constraint. That's already a constraint. So is this going to be feasible? That could be it. That could be it. That might well be the digit. Oh, the building noise, the click. Oh, really? Oh, yeah, possibly. Never thought about that before. There are tunnels under River, Matt. Sorry for being so dismissive. But when was the first tunnel under the river? It was under the Thames, and that was very much a needs-must situation. Whereas in this situation, we've got a freight railway. It's much cheaper to build bridges over the top of railways than it is to tunnel underneath them. So then, at this point, the other challenge we've got is that if you look at the terrain through here, this land is quite low. So you're going to have quite a lot of need for earthwork to get across here, because as you might have noticed, I ain't going to be building one long silly viaduct. Why not via the river island? Good point. Again, it's because of these Michael, you're asking that it's because of these rocks and things. I quite like keeping these, and so whilst it would be reasonably realistic for a river bridge to be built via that, maybe is it doable? Bearing in mind I'm going to bin this save afterwards, it could be doable, you know. Let's have a look. That's a thing. That is also a thing. It does come into clashing with some roads, but that's not necessarily the end of the world. It could be it. That could be it, you know. All right. I mean, we'll ignore that. Obviously, it'll be straight when it comes to... And good grief, oh, it'll be such a faff. Getting bridges to be built, like, why does City Skylines have the ability for a railway to do that? Like, that, it's not a thing. Okay, this is a road, isn't it? Even if we did it with a railway, it's not good. Anyway. Yeah, those are the potential options. That's a good point. Yeah, I think that the challenge with this, yeah, is that you're starting to come into... This angle means you're clashing. You're starting to clash, and you've not got as much... Particularly not as much space to get around the town, that side, so... Here you've got field, 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 field. One of the things they have to do when you're building a railway is actually trying to avoid cutting through, like trying to avoid severing lots and lots of fields, because, you know, particularly in this day and age, for high-speed rail, you don't really have a choice. You kind of do it and live with it. But in the olden days, they were trying to follow field boundaries to minimise the number of people they had to pay compensation to. It's as simple as that. So, yeah. So saying that, what do you think? So what are the options? We've got via the River Island has an element of realism, because yeah, you would often use existing. Certainly in Victorian times, they didn't give a stuff about what nice wildlife there was there. The reason I was avoiding it is because it looks nice. Yeah, first one is easy to miss stuff. It is a roller coaster. You're right, Lewis. Yeah, it's nonsense. To be fair, I'm using my dirt tracks as I always do when I'm building a railway to start with. So I'm just mucking around with routes. Alignment. Mucking around with the alignment at the moment. This is essentially crayonisting. You're facilitating me. Silly viaduct. Great name, yeah. He's happy. So from this point, at this point it gets easier, because yeah, you're going to go through this field and this field with embankment. So you're going to have embankment through here, including going over through there and there, including going over the road. So you have a bridge over the road, you have another bridge there, and actually probably, yeah, so you might have that. So you build it, so you're going to buy that field as well. So by the time you're, yeah, and then at this point you're probably going to start. What's our contour doing? See, we're quite away from this green. We're aiming back for this green contour again, because we're going to try and follow that once more as we get around the other side. But because of all the earthwork, we might well put a cutting through here. I think that's exactly what we might do. In fact, I wonder if we did it straight, what would it do? That might be what we do, you know. Parax 77 is absolutely right. Yes, that is another reason. Is you have to provide land. You have to provide a bridge, which costs extra if you're splitting a farmer's field in half. Well, these, to be fair, I draw these on now, but actually these are ones that these are just oak. No, they're not oak. What are they? Small beech. Do they look like small beeches? A little bit. Sheep. Wonder how long Frank the sheep will last. I don't know what the circulation is of these things, whether they disappear or not. Anyway. That's very straight, isn't it? The trouble is, it doesn't look that realistic for a freight line. You just wouldn't have that. So I think it would cut. The thing is, that is the closest part. Interesting. I like this. This is the fun bit, you see. You guys are coming in with the fun bit. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So what I'd do is I'd do precisely as you say there. I'd put a cutting in. So I'd probably got to maybe about here, and then this is where let's get the contours back. I'd maybe do it. Oh gosh, you see my hand. This, I do this. There we go. Actually worked as shepherdess. Why does that not surprise me? Yeah, so then we've got a nice bit of road crossing. Hug the sheep. Hug the sheep. Yeah. Indeed, I want. Okay, so this isn't perfect because by this point I've. In fact, you know what? Let's demolish the road because by road. And give that back. I think by this point we're. Yeah. So at this point, then I'm going to start doing contouring again. Yeah. There we go. Now, what do you think? This takes contouring to the extreme, but actually, probably. Let's have a think. At this point, I'd probably be. Doing something more like that. Isn't Chatmoss built of bolts of sheep wool? And the rest, yeah, they just built Chatmoss with anything they blinking could that didn't sink into the mud forever. Chatmoss was built on a very similar construction method to when they put the railway over the top of Rannoch Moor. And they had the same issue, particularly on the approach to Karur, where... so this is where we'll win back some earth, I think. I think the railway will start cutting through here. I think this is where we'll cut through because it'll look nice and it'll win us some soil that we can use for what's probably going to be a lot of embankment on the other side. Yeah, I think this... is going to be the one. I think it's this one because it just provides that alignment, doesn't it? Just goes through, and then we're going to have a railway going round, and I think, yeah, at this point is where we start cutting in through and winning back some material. There we go, because it'll be following this contour here, this green contour, but at this point I think we're going to be, let's see, what are your thoughts, everyone? I think I overdid it there, actually. Straights and curves, everyone. Straights and curves. I think that I will go like that. Yeah. And then where does this... Oh, and then you see we have to negotiate our way past this town, and then you'll see what you were saying that we're going to have to start climbing because our destination is quite a bit higher than the railway we've been serving so far. In fact, it's sort of located at the end of this valley. So the railway, at this point, we'll have to start climbing, which is fine. We'll just, choose a steady gradient and climb our way up. This is going to do this, actually, I think. that. So that'll contour around there quite nicely, and I think the rest is easy. Michael Dono was asking about East-West Rail and putting overheads up. Yeah, they were set on DMUs, and then they realised that no one's building any new ones, and they don't want to launch. The TOC doesn't like the idea of launching with second-hand units at the best of times. No one's building diesel trains anymore because they're the past. So you're just going to struggle to find a supplier for brand new DMUs. So what they're going to do is, at last, I think also they've spoken to people who know what they're talking about, who have gone, the idea of not wiring East-West Rail from the absolute start is ridiculous. So hopefully that means that the full length of East-West Rail will be wired right the way from Oxford across to Cambridge eventually. It would be completely bonkers to not do that. To be honest, any new railway line that gets built in the UK should have OLE just as part of the just as part of this initial spec. It's like, no, not passive provision, no, it just gets wired. No matter what the plan is for the number of trains or whatever, wire it. Even like things like Skipton Colne, wire it. Just get it wired. Wire the blinking thing. At the very minimum, yeah, passive provision, and then wait for the national programme of electrification that's still not a thing yet. Wait for that to catch up. But my personal preference is very much, East-West Rail. There's a simple rule of thumb, or two simple rules of thumb for electrification. The first is, let's zoom in on some electrified railway, shall we? Let's go over here so we can remind ourselves what electrified railways look like. It's nice OLE. Let's just do that while I'm moaning about OLE. Lovely. So, overhead electrification. If you have 6 trains an hour in each direction, or if you have 100 miles an hour, wires. Default OLE. Conventional OLE always will win, will always be the most cost effective, along the whole life cost. So that's step one, all of that needs to be wired, and for the UK that is about 90% of the network. Then you've got about 10%, maybe a bit less. Then you bump up to about 90% of the network from whatever it is, 70%, up to 90+% of the network in filling gaps that are little islands of railway that have wires either side that basically become a no-brainer to wire because they're good diversion routes. So then once you've done all that, you're basically left with a few fringes. And even some of those fringes, if 90% of the route is with a wired train, for example up to Scarborough actually, a lot of the route from York up to Scarborough is not wired, but from York in all other directions generally is wired, or should be wired fairly soon. Which then makes you think, actually, you probably should wire to Scarborough. Because for the saving in lightness and reliability of train, in acceleration and in similar performance, you gain that benefit. CAF are building diesel. Yeah, the 195s are a diesel unit. You're right there. Those are, but no one else is doing it, and I think that CAF aren't a fan of those units. I don't think they're enjoying building them, to be honest. And the sooner that, it's ridiculous that we've procured. The fact that those 195s have been procured, I have to say, Northern's procurement of all those trains makes very little sense. They should all be 4-car minimum, if not 5-car. It's confusing to me. They've reduced the number of seats from the paces they've replaced in some instances, which is just doolally. DC to AC conversion, electric spine seemed a good starting point for that. Yeah, absolutely. Again, up from Southampton. What can I say? Unfortunately, Grayling electric spine was a weird one because no one knows who owned that project. It was a very good idea, but actually, I don't think there was no project manager for it in Network Rail. It was just a nice thing that had been written in a report. It was a very good idea. Stadler are making bimodes. They're making these sort of. They've got a little diesel pack unit, like mini sort of thing that sits within the overall thing. So it's sort of a bimode rather than a diesel unit. So the conversion from third rail to OLE was going to be progressed up from Southampton as part of this freight spine, which is a really good idea. That got kiboshed when the Tories cancelled all of the electrification as a colossal overreaction to overruns on NWEP and GWEP. Let's see. Yes, the 2040 zero emission stuff. There's just no market in developing a 2040 platform. You know, there's no point. Electrification was a project that was, I think, referenced in a few or it wasn't a project. It was a name of a scheme to wire all the way from Southampton up to the Midland Main Line, and then up to Doncaster, to provide a completely electric and W12 cleared route. So that's a freight gauge, square container boxes, across the country from one of the busiest ports, Southampton, up to one of the busier distribution areas. So, you know, Leeds, Doncaster, that particular area. And that would have been fantastically, that would have got rid of a lot of diesel freight. There's a lot of, it would have also captured a lot of the quarry stuff from Mount Sorrel, so a lot of the heavy haul. So, yeah, that would have been, Electrification would have been a really good idea. Alas, it didn't happen. We've been streaming for ages. Look at this. We've dropped down to, there's only 17 of you and only 5 of you are chatting. Thanks for the stats there. YouTube. Don't really care. As long as everyone's enjoying themselves, I'm quite happy. This is quite nice, isn't it? Little teaser of what's going on here. Anyway, we didn't really finish this, did we? So we know what we're doing down here. This bit here, we've got this big gap. This is the tricky bit, is how are we going to get out across from, basically to go around Woodhead, how are we getting across to then link up with the bridge? Because it's going to be tricky. Should we get the contours up and have a look? Peterborough Felixstowe should be wired. Yep, absolutely it should. So it's a tricky one, this, because it's so flat. Tell you what, let's just do a quick experiment, shall we? Let's do a very quick experiment. Let's grab. Yep, and need that. Why is that right in the way? And we're going to say 30, 50. Sorry, 50. Yep, that's the one. So if I now just going to grab that contour there. Didn't want to do that really. I wanted to do this, that. Just fix that. We'll come back to that later. Well, we're binning this off anyway, aren't we? So it doesn't matter. So if let's just see what. Just draw a straight line here, and then another one here. I'm going to go in here and just see what that looks like. It's quite tall, isn't it? It might be that we have to reduce. It might be that we. Oh, it's not. It's not so bad. Let's just pop a rail on top of that so we know what it looks like. I've been listening to Gorillas of late. It's nice listening to those old albums. They're just so good. Classic Gorillas, yes please. And there we go. That's what I wanted. Go. That's it. Just why not? Let's get a bridge in there just for. No, come on. Behave. Behave. Oh, stuff it. Anyway, right. Bridges are a bit fiddly in city skylines if you want to make them look good. Is Virgin Media... is this actually a thing then, the Virgin Media fault? Is it actually got to everyone? Crikey, I'm on Pure Fibre. I don't know who the actual delivery provider is. So everyone's Virgin Media has just collapsed, does it? I think what's probably ruining your stream enjoyment is actually my dreadful computer more than anything else. See, that doesn't look too bad, does it? What do you think? It looks like quite a reasonable embankment, doesn't it? I think that's what we're going to have. I think that's what it's going to do. It's going to work its way across as an embankment like this. Yeah. Our railway is spineless. Yes, very true. Parak 77. You're right. Felixstowe Birmingham should be wired in its entirety, yeah, because it connects East Coast Main Line, the Midland Main Line, which should be wired by default, and the West Coast Main Line. Fully agree, Martin. Yep. Lewis, how are you doing? Are you coping? You're dropping off. Michael, the new metro trains up here will be Stadler, and they look pretty awesome. As in the northeast, yeah, they're going to be Stadler. I don't know how much I can say about that because I worked on that bid. We won it, which is quite nice. I actually worked with Stadler on that one. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that, other than really glad that was a success and it's really cool. Yeah, Virgin have gone down at the knees. Tom Smith, hello. Tom, have we named anything after you? I feel like you're a new person to the stream. I don't know how many other new people are on the stream. If you haven't got anything, if you know you don't have something named after you, shout up now and we'll name something after you. Tom Smith's getting a farm. Tom, which farm you get is that's the question. Where? Ah, yeah, down here. There you go. There. You also have a bit of an orchard, so you're getting the importing. There. Tom Smith's. Yeah, it's a bit like Granny Smith's. You sell apples, you see. Yeah. Enjoy. The Highland Main Line should be wired up to Inverness. Absolutely, yeah. Bjorn, I don't know if you do either, actually. It's a very good point. Have we? Tom Harris Davis has, Richard Newman. I don't know if you have, yeah. Let's get down. Ah, disgraceful. Right. There we go. What are farms called? There we go. Matt Reed. Did I get distracted in the middle of naming a farm after you, Matt? Is this what happened? I bet I got distracted because it's basically what I do, isn't it? I just kind of get distracted mid everything. Matt Reed. I don't think I did, you know. That's did I? I can't see it, Matt. Which is better? Third rail, DC 1500 volts, AC 25 kV. Always AC 25 kV. Yeah, always. It's the cheapest to install. It's probably the cheapest to maintain, actually, when you look at it. Honouring Mars at the same time. Memnonia. Oof. Morning, Cameron. What have we got? Milan Z is being awkward with his AC with their AC preferences. Sorry, Milan. Sarcasm. Yeah, good. Very good. Matt Reed's farm. I got distracted and didn't name Matt Reed's farm. Who else is in here? What else have we got? I'm not saying anything, I'm not doing anything, which is really bad, just really bad content, isn't it? Apples is a bit extreme. Oh, you can only get pure from familiar shoots. Every Granny Smith is a cutting from the same tree. That's a fact, isn't it? That's a fact. I remember there was a TV show about apples, and it was, you know, a lot of memes came out of it because people were like, apples are amazing. I love apples. They're so fascinating. I've got apples downstairs. Oh, I really want an apple now. I might end the stream in 3 minutes just so that an apple can happen. So to conclude, this bit's going to be the tricky bit. The connection of the bridge round and then kind of coming around. That's going to be the slightly faffy bit because if we want to hug the landscape a bit longer, it's just there's no easy way to do it, is there? It's just you're going to have to cut across and have a bit of an earthwork. Actually, I probably will cut across more from here and kind of go across like this. Yeah. And then maybe from here then kind of cut round with a similar sort of situation, kind of coming this way, embankment and then round. Might divert the main road as well. Plant of hip, random apple. Yeah. Had a question earlier. I was going to ask Mr. Keener, but I'm here now. Does the height of the contact wire normally change with different loading gauges? Yes. So you can reduce. I mean, ideally, you have the contact wire height at a position where it doesn't matter what trains you've got underneath; it will always fit them. But in certain squeezy places, if you've got W12 freight gauge clearance, for example, so you're the biggest in the UK freight gauge, off HS1 anyway. If you're running that, then the standard wire height clears it, no bother. But if, say, you're really squeezed, going through a tunnel, and you're not running W12, you may be running a smaller gauge, you can, if you're precluding W12 from running, bring the wire height down. It's doable. Not ideal. And on the Paisley Canal line that's been electrified, the wire height is enough for mechanical clearance, so you can run W12 through there or whatever the freight gauge is, but you have to switch the OLE off, which is a stupid idea, because otherwise you get flashover to the top of the train and to the top of the to the top of the container wagons. So you can muck around with the wire height if you want to get things to build the system for cheap, but it's a compromise. Yeah, 15 kV is odd because Deutsche Bahn don't make new lines 25 kV. Yeah, it's true. Yes, I think 15 kV isn't as good as 25 kV for a variety of reasons. I mean, not least because it's non-standard. If something's non-standard, it means it's bespoke and you have to spend extra money on building it. Channel Tunnel has a really high contact wire height. Yeah, that's because of the Le Shuttle vehicles are massive when they go through there, absolutely massive, which means that the pan has to be really blinking high on the conventional rolling stock going through there. Looks really strange. Michael Donner, yeah, that's true. 1500 volts DC that the Netherlands have is a bit loopy. There's only so much power you can actually get out of that. And again, it's DC, it requires lots of substations, so it requires a lot of power. Right, we've been streaming for like nearly an hour and a half. It's kind of a long time, and I've not really done much. We've achieved very little, but that's kind of what these streams are. It's kind of a chance for us to sort of have a chat. There's lots of fun stuff. Rail Natter this week is going to be really good fun. We've got Tim Dunn. Tomorrow night, I'm sure all of you are going to be watching Tim's Railway Architecture show at 8 p.m. tomorrow, so in 24 and a half hours. You're going to be watching. I think Tim's going to be live tweeting from. He's going to be live tweeting through the show, and he's probably going to be. I think the museum are tweeting as well. Everyone's going to be doing all sorts of stuff, so get involved. It'll be good fun. And then we've got Tim the night after on Rail Natter, so that should be that's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that. Tim and I'm very pleased to call Tim a very good friend, and we have a habit of nattering on for hours and hours. So we're going to try keep within an hour this time. I haven't managed to for quite a while, have I? And then after that is going to be, well, actually, okay, so I haven't planned exactly what the next Rail Natter is going to be. I think it might, I haven't fully decided, and I think it might end up being a very relaxed Rail Natter where we can all, sorry Matt if you're on nights, yeah, I mean you can record it as well. It's on yesterday, yeah. Do DC wires need neutral sections? Yeah, that's one for Gary Keener. Find him on the YouTubes. Lack TV license. I don't know if you need a TV license to watch yesterday. You probably do. Oh man, don't take legal advice from me. But you can stream yesterday on the internet anyway, so you'll find it. Where there's a will, there's a way. I'm sure you'll get it. Yeah, I'm not going to be watching it on the TV because I don't have one, so I'm going to be watching it online. What else? What else is there to say? So I might end up doing a theme for the next Rail Natter after Tim. I might do a theme like scenic routes of what are we going to go and look at when lockdown lifts again and we can take the train. Because it'll be a bit Britain focused, but a bit of a reminisce, and it's a chance for us to just do a bit like this again, a bit more chatty, because I quite like these. They're quite nice when they're chatty. Let's while I'm finishing off, let's just do this. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? yeah, so that's that. It's a live do for, yep. So Rail Natter on Wednesday night will be live as always. Oh, this is kind of random, isn't it? Why are we looking at that house? I'm going to go have an apple and a drink of water, and I'm going to take this jumper off because I think my body temperature is about 41 degrees. I'm going to eat this tub of broccoli, and Dean and I are going to have some dinner. And I'm going to leave you all in peace and quiet because I've been chatting for an hour and a half. YouTube lawyer. Lewis, no, no. Anyway, this map's going to get fun when we start building. The good thing about the episode is that we're going to unlock the chance to start building these railway lines. So we'll do the freight line, and then after the freight line, we'll do another one of these, and I'll just build railways the whole time. And hopefully that'll be slightly more entertaining content for you. In the meantime, have a lovely rest of the day, and I will see you on the Twitter, on my Patreon. Please do support me on there if you want to steer what the content is. The input to, if you want to change content, then you have to be a supporter now. That's how it works, because they get dibs on telling me what to do. I am beholden to them. So see you tomorrow on Twitter for Tim's show, and then see you on Wednesday for Rail Natter, and then the next video of this later in the week. Cheerio, cheerio, cheerio.